for Transport. Karibu Waziri.
Your Excellency the President, Your Excellency the Deputy President, Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Speaker, my colleague and the Chief Guest, Honorable Duale, and all distinguished guests, good evening. I am actually the least qualified to speak about Honorable Duale, and I consider myself extremely privileged that he has reminisced our interactions in a number of chapters of his book, from Kenya to The Hague and back. And since Honorable Duale is my big brother, I want to start by saying thank you very much for putting me in a book. At least if I don't write anything, someone will read me somewhere in your book, and they will ask themselves, who was this Murkomen? Number two is to really say that I came to know Honorable Duale because I was recruited to the School of Politics of William Ruto. I was actually picked like the way Jesus picked his disciples. And those of us who have worked with President Ruto, you know he is deliberate in recruiting people to work with him. He actually recruits. So I was this political analyst, and one day he had looked for me, and I had heard a word that he had said derogatory things about me to my member of parliament. So he told my member of parliament, where were you when this one was talking all these things he's talking on TV? I hear Lina told him back and said, but he was in ODM with you. I wasn't hearing you. So one day he calls me. Okay, coincidentally we met at the airport. And so we land in Nairobi, and he spends 2 hours speaking to me about leadership and politics. And so he recruited me to his School of Leadership, and since then I've never left. That is where I met Duale. I was a young boy, the briefcase carrier. Although I was a university lecturer at a young age, I was the one who used to take the notes behind the scenes. At some point, I was a Murkomen of Isaac Ruto, trying to reclaim UDM, which was being taken away from us. And soon thereafter, I became the Murkomen of the entire team to work on the URP agreement. And in the process, Duale was always there. One thing about Duale, one thing if you don't know about President William Ruto, he knows how to arrange his team like a coach would arrange, like Pep Guardiola would do it, even though I don't like Man City, but he knows how to arrange his team. And so everybody had a strategic job to do in this URP. Even, I dare say, Honorable Chirao Hale Makwere had his role. Do you remember, Mr. President, I asked you, why would you go around with Chirao Hale Makwere? What votes will he bring? You told me, no, this is my Biden. because Obama was the president and he was younger, and there was a Biden old man called Chirao who was the vice president. So I said, okay, it's fine. So in the rallies I used to observe, Duale would speak at the most critical moment of the rally. And amidst the noise and the loud voice of Duale, there are very few public speakers who speak often consistently and deliver a message from the beginning of the speech to the end. If you doubt, go to the speeches of Honorable Duale. Honorable Duale will speak in a way that when the president now comes to speak in the culmination of the rally, everything had been brought together. It is now number 9 who is going to score the goal. And the president, you know, would just be clapping when Duale is speaking because he knows how to package. It is through this School of William Ruto, where Duale was a top student up there and we were trainees, when I learned that even rallies and speeches and messages planned. And so we would sit, Duale would come around and say, what's the message today? Then we'll sit around and work on the message. And then we put together. Then Duale will be the last person to deliver. So one thing about Duale is that he is a team player. He is an eloquent speaker. Number 2, Honorable Duale is loyal. Loyal to his friends. And sometimes loyal to a fault. I actually believed that after we were axed from the leadership positions, I actually thought you would choose to go with President Uhuru Kenyatta. We had actually literally given up. In fact, I admire your tact because, maybe I should not say too much, but let me say this. For a long time, Duale would not call directly. He was still calling on WhatsApp. Those of us who had surrendered, we knew our days were numbered, had already been calling each other directly because even plotting openly what we are going to do to Uhuru Kenyatta. But Duale would come at night and come and sit with the president. So Uhuru Kenyatta was not wrong to sack you because he knew there was no doubt that anything was going to be plotted against President William Ruto and you were going to sit in that room. So you must give him credit also that it's because of your loyalty that he had to get you out. But even in the hardest moment, there is no day Aden Duale betrayed President Uhuru Kenyatta. Not a single day. Not a single agenda of government that he sabotaged because he believed that the president was not supporting his deputy. He remained consistent, and that is the kind of leader you need when you are in leadership. The last thing I'll say about Honorable Duale is he was also wrong in many ways. I don't think I agreed with Duale in many things. And we disagreed publicly. Yeah, we disagreed publicly. Duale would get so worked up, and we would go and tell the president, you know, hii mtu yako ni msumbufu. Hii mtu boss, weka hii mtu kando saa ingine. Particularly, we disagreed completely about the bicameral legislature. I was a mtu wa mkono of first majority leader of Senate, Professor Kindiki. And I think there are many things that you hurt us, Duale. Because sometimes you are like an elephant. When you pass through a place and you believe in something, you will clear the path completely. And many of your friends will agree with me that if you believe in something, everything else will have to give way for it. And even where we wanted to compromise a lot, to negotiate and compromise bicameral legislature, we never, you are no time for compromise. That's where we lost you. And as my friend, I'll tell you the truth, as a honest man. But because memoirs is about history and times of all of us living, I did not come here to praise you. I just came to thank you for doing a good job. In the cabinet, I think time has come. When you dance in a stage, I think there comes a time you must exit so that others can play in that stage. Kindiki exited the stage, I became majority leader. I exited the stage. I think the current majority leader is doing even a better job than us. One thing I've learned, and I think that is something we must all learn from Dr. William Ruto, because we are all students of his school, including what he has forwarded here, is that as a leader you must not be petty. You must be ready to facilitate others to even be greater than yourself. And you must be patient in mentoring people. If President William Ruto was someone else, he would not continue to have Duale as his friend, because so many people came to him to tell him, you must leave Duale. So it was not just loyalty of Duale to President Ruto, but President Ruto was also loyal to his friends to a fault. And that's why he stood by Duale and the way he has stood by him. I don't want to say much because I would look like I will be soliciting you to be kept in cabinet forever. Let me just say that I admire what you've done. You've challenged us. I am not ready to write a book now. Some of us are not as courageous as yourself. There are some things if you say now, some of us don't want to commit yet. And there are some things you said in that prologue. Honorable Duale, in men's conference this year, you will be displayed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Waziri, and I bet that is the moment which also partly contributed to a speedy sale of the book when we have seen the pages which were circulated on